Members of this committee, we have been sat here for 30 days, debating the policy of how the Navy is to move forward with her design philosophy. All of these designs have been approved, and we have very few designs left to fill the gaps that I see. I still, however, must admit I do not understand why this meeting was called. But after the news I got this morning, I understand why. It is difficult for us, who deal in Navy matters, to understand how badly the situation is in the British Empire's dockyards. Ship construction across the entire empire has gone down. We simply don't have enough docks to support the entire civilian industry of the British Empire and the Navy. So, as being the man in charge of the Design Bureau, I'm putting forward some recommendations that I hope you all will agree with me on. First step is to prioritize the new ships, getting whatever cruisers, battleships we can out, and leaving extra tonnage to help make up the losses that our civilian partners have been taking. All of the shipyards we contract also have civilian contracts, and so far we've basically been holding them hostage. And the government has been making it very clear to me and the Department of the Navy, inside of our brilliant Ministry of Defense, that we need to take a step back. Normally I would agree in such times of peace, but I grow more and more concerned every day that the aggressive Soviet policies in the North Sea are becoming a bit too close to comfort. The socialist puppet government in Copenhagen still believes it retains sovereignty over the Danish colonies, and in fact not our allies in the Kingdom of Denmark, currently only in Jutland. Canada has had multiple trade agreements with the Soviet Union, including mining expeditions. However, I have been hearing reports from friends in the Canadian government and the Canadian Navy that the Soviets are being a bit too aggressive, and the Canadian government is practically powerless at the moment, as the tax revenue would cripple the government's ability to fund its new projects. Therefore, inside of these recommendations, I have outlined a goal. We are going to contain the Soviet Union, and we're going to demand that the Denmark question be settled. I don't like getting into politics, but it is high time we start considering the consequences. We have battleships that have been in service for far too long, and we cannot take them out. Not yet. Once we can take them out of service, we need to have all the ships ready possible to defend against possible Soviet aggression. 3 weeks ago, when we were sailing members of the Exemplar class battlecruisers through the Kara Canal and the Skagerrak, depending on which route they had to take for refueling, we were harassed by Soviet agents aboard coastal patrol vessels of the communist Danish government. It is becoming increasingly clear to me and our friends in Parliament that the Soviet Union is gearing up for war. What goals they have, I do not know, but all I know is we need to be ready. I'm asking for you all not to be concerned about how we will fight the war. I'm not asking for you all to be concerned about when it is coming, because both of those questions I do not have the answer for. But the most important thing we all must realize is that if the Soviet Union declares war on the United Kingdom, Great Britain, and her Commonwealth and Empire, we should be ready to defend her. These new ships are going to be the forefront of the most modern ships available on the high seas. The Americans are the only ones who are within parity of the Royal Navy, which should give us some semblance of comfort that our brothers and sisters and cousins in the Anglosphere hold complete domination over the waves. Yet, Washington has other priorities. With Italy in a state of civil war between the French-backed rebels in the north, the Americans allying with the Kingdom of Italy, and the nationalistic Italian military government trying to hold on of whatever's left of Italy's empire, it seems that conflict for the United States is going to be very much away from the Soviet Union. For us, we will have to fight her alone. Britain has stood alone before, gentlemen. When I heard your all's concerns, all of you concerns, all of you had concerns, from how many ships will be able to fit in their dockyards, what about the refits of our older ships, how will we be able to afford with this Navy budget that we are bleeding every day. I asked you to wait for this meeting, because I will address them all. I have had to take on much more leadership positions inside of the Ministry of Defense for our Navy than I would like to admit. The Ministry of Defense is still going through her reforms, meaning that some of us are left to sort things out, to find our own path. And I've used whatever resources I can to make sure that we are set up for success. First off, the shipbuilding. We are prioritizing replacing older classes. The Perth and Clauslaw classes will stay in service indefinitely until such times that we are able to replace them. They are excellent cruisers. They have served us for well over 20 years at this point, most of them, and frankly, they're still going. They've had upgraded engines, new retooled guns, better sonar and radar capabilities. They are the best light cruisers from that entire class of years of designs from all those ships that came out all those years ago. They're the ones still in service. No other classes across the world can say they claim such high standards as to be able to be in service far longer than they should have any right to be. Not out of desperation or lack of replacements, no, out of sheer ability. Those men that overboard those cruisers are more capable than most other entire navies. They have proven themselves time and time again, and so questioning why we haven't pulled them out of service yet is a bit odd. Secondly, I want to address refits. Refits take priority with whatever ships we need. We have a distinct lack of mine-sweeping and mine-laying vessels in our far-flung colonies. I'm ordering a refit of the Tormentor-class destroyers and the Carysfort-class light cruisers. The Carysforts will function as sort of patrol vessels. They will be equipped with depth charges and mine layers to protect our faraway ports. We will design, hopefully soon, a new class of minesweepers, mine layers, and anti-submarine vessels of cruiser size once we have the ability. The Tormentors, I'm focusing on being total all-around vessels, able to pursue submarines at high speed, lay large minefields along with their cruiser counterparts, and be able to minesweep on the go. They will also be deployed to faraway ports and wherever else needed. As for priorities, our priorities must be on how we can improve. Training must improve. The Admiralty is investing in these aircraft carriers. Project Icarus, as many of us are aware of its code name. They have been testing these vessels as seaplane tenders, patrol cruisers, search and rescue vessels. But we all know their true purpose. We know that one day those aircraft carriers will join us in the battle fleets. The question is, how soon? I suspect it will be sooner than many of us can imagine. But for the time being, they're still being hamstrung by design constraints, and most of all, their aircraft complement. So far, the experimental seaplane tenders have been the only successful class that we have deployed. And even then, I struggle to find the term successful being the right word. Passable would be the better term. This does not mean we should stop building the battleships. Not yet, at least. Those aircraft carriers are still many years out. In the meantime, we must focus on what we have control over. The fleet and designs we have before us here at this table. That is our priority. Secretary, I understand you've been lobbying for more funding for training and recruitment drives. We're going to need that. With so many new ships about to come online, we're going to need more crew. Well trained and well capable. Offer scholarships to the Naval Academy, and do whatever you must. The Navy has plenty of funds stored in the bank that we are able to use for this endeavor. Commander, I expect your report on the new submarine designs and how they have been tested on the desk of the Minister of Defense by, say, 3 months from this date. Say 90 days? I believe that sounds fair. And please write all your recommendations in about new designs for submarines. We really need to modernize them, and we need long-range ones. So if you have any suggestions, please write them up and have them ready on the minister's desk. Gentlemen, it is with no... what's the word? Sympathy I have to call these meetings, to inform you of the grave state that we were once in. The Ministry of Defense reforms will be completed soon. And when they are ready, we will have to be ready to live up to those standards. We already exceed the standards so much more than the Ministry of Defense could possibly imagine under the old system. But with this new system, we will have to be prepared to go above and beyond. So where does that leave us? 14 men of the Admiralty and 1 man from the Special Services Corps. Angus made it very clear in his opening statement that we must work together. And he's got recommendations for us about how we can deploy our auxiliary ships better. He's been studying how we've been doing it so far, and he's found gaps. And I'm very grateful for his insight, even if he's not a Navy man. And that'll be the next order of business. For now, we'll take a 15-minute recess, grab some water, grab some tea, and then we need to move on to how we're going to improve logistics. That will be all for now. I will see you all in 15 minutes.